Hey everyone, what's up? It's Baina. Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, I want to talk about farmhouse style. Okay. This is obviously, if you follow me, not my style, but as a design lover, I totally get it. It can be extremely sophisticated and extremely cool. But at the same time, I feel like this style has the highest tendency to look inauthentic and lack personality. So for today's video, I'm actually going to give you 5 practical tips on how you can add personality to your farmhouse style. That if you are not subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe. I would really love to have you here. I noticed a lot of people watch my videos, but they don't necessarily subscribe. And if you enjoy this video, just make sure you like it and you comment. And I specifically want to know how many of my viewers have farmhouse style and where do you live, okay? Because that is going to be a relevant point that I'm going to cover in today's video. Number one, the first thing you need to do is that you need to get rid of all of that fake word art, all of those signs that say welcome, home, family. All that is doing is actually keeping your style at a very kind of beginner juvenile level. So we need to get a little bit more creative when we are trying to elevate our decorating style, okay? So instead of putting a sign that says home, family, welcome, love, how can we take the essence of those words and actually just make our home feel that way without necessarily having to say it? The second thing is, which builds on that, is you want to actually focus on buying actual antiques and vintage, because everything looks like it's coming from the same level of shopping, like the same price point. It's actually coming off as not only cheap, but it's not really telling them who you are. So you can go to barn sales, antique malls, vintage shops, and thrift stores and just look for rustic elements to add into your home that are actually rustic, things that are actually vintage, things that are actually old, because you just cannot replicate that in these mass produced stores. And it is okay to buy some mass produced things. That's totally fine. But I've done a video about this in the past before where you just need to balance it. You know, maybe you do 20% of the big box stores and then you do 40% of the vintage and then, you know, that kind of thing, right? So you just can't have everything that's literally brand new and something that when you're done with it, you're just going to Goodwill it because it means nothing and you have no personal ties to it. So if you love farmhouse style and you live in Florida, your interior should look very different from the farmhouse style of someone who lives in Colorado or New Mexico. And that's because I think it is really important to take into consideration where you live, okay? And the actual kind of styles and colors that you're decorating with, right? You'd never want your home to be a complete disconnect from where you're actually living. So bringing in colors and textures, if you're in a mountainous area in Colorado, maybe you want to bring in cowhides and leather. You can also bring in art, like a beautiful photograph of the kind of environment that you live in that's going to set your design apart from someone else that loves farmhouse. So I'm actually doing a completely different style. I'm doing modern eclectic French Art Deco, okay? Because I love Parisian style interiors. I just always have, but I don't live in Paris, okay? I live in Texas. So I've been searching for creative ways to come up with how do I bring the Texas into my home that isn't me slapping a big flag on a wall. So I kind of came up with this concept of Paris, Texas, which is an actual town in Texas. And it's also a movie as well. I recently bought a pair of cowgirl boots, not for decor, but because I actually wanted them. And I also bought this hat, okay? Cowgirl hat, which I wore, which I actually really like. So like one of my subscribers gave me the suggestion that said, why don't you take those cowboy boots and just kind of like place them next to the chair in your living room next to the fireplace. And I've been doing that and it actually looks really cool. It speaks more to my design when I have these like modern French Art Deco pieces mixed with these cowboy boots and like maybe like the cowgirl hat hanging on a hook next to the door. It's all of a sudden creating a vibe. It's creating a personality. It's telling you about me. It's like more authentic because I actually use them. They're old and it just makes your home look cooler. I'm also was thinking about maybe I would get one of those movie posters from that says Paris, Texas. I got to watch the movie first to make sure that I resonate with that movie so that it's authentic. Or I was thinking maybe I'd do a big black and white glossy print, you know, in a modern frame with Texas and mix that with the Paris elements. That's how you start elevating your design, being more creative and making it really personal to you and who you are. Just because you're into the farmhouse decor does not mean everything literally has to be in that aesthetic. And one of the things I think people do wrong when it comes to farmhouse is they just decorate with too much wood. And so it's really important to mix textures in a room to make it feel dynamic and three-dimensional. Okay. So a lot of times, too much wood will look kind of bland and personality less, if that's a word. So you can actually add glamour if you kind of lean a little bit towards the glamour and add like a crystal chandelier. I think shine is a really good contrasting texture to add to like a all wood interior. I also love adding industrial to farmhouse. I think that pairs really well. So you could add like metal tables or consoles in more of like a modern aesthetic. That always looks really good with the rustic look. You could also do like leather bar stools instead. You could add in like a vintage locker or like a metal chest of like architectural drawers or one of those old library catalogs. It's still within that kind of like rustic feel, but it's adding something personal to you that you're attracted to. That's what's going to like take it out of that generic place. Okay. You could also even go like African. I think that the mud cloth pillows are so beautiful and elegant. The fabric quality is incredible. They add such a beautiful layer of texture in a room. And I actually think these pillows go with a ton of styles. You could even add a juju hat, which was very, very popular in interior design a couple of years ago, but it's still like classic design at the same time. And it has a really good meaning behind it. It's like a feather headdress that certain cultures wear for like wedding ceremonies or like New Year's. So it's got like a real positive connotation. That could be really fun. Or I used to see all the time in San Francisco and LA flea markets, these incredible beaded African chairs, which are so fun and so amazing. I mean, what a vibe if you added that to the farmhouse style. Now we're really starting to get to know you. Now we're starting to see something a little bit different. It's a conversation piece. And those are the kind of elements that you need to add if you want to really elevate the style and add more personality. And then the last one is curate, don't decorate. And I actually got this from Leanne Ford's website. She's an amazing designer. I don't know if she's like necessarily farmhouse, but she does like a lot of like sort of country style interiors, very neutral, amazing designer. And I love this concept of curating, not decorating, because I feel like farmhouse is one of those styles that is maybe the most like consumery kind of style, because I just feel like no matter where you are in this country, you can go into any store and find farmhouse stuff. It's just like has a very wide appeal, but a lot of this decor made for that style is very mass produced and kind of like not functional. It's just like just stuff, to put on a tabletop. So like that's just like decorating just to fill a space. But curating is actually being creative and displaying things that are not only beautiful that fit that aesthetic, but also functional to you. So I've always loved like the concept of like straw hats, like and straw bags hanging in an entryway or a hallway. I just think that adds a lot of texture, decor, but it's also functional and it's also real and part of your style. That's how you create personality. You could also try something weird, which I have always loved, like a skirted sink in a kitchen. Like I kind of love the idea of like an iron bar with like a beautiful piece of linen on rings and clips, like underneath the kitchen cabinets instead of doors. It's a very like kind of country style. Once you start doing those little tweaks, like that's personality. That's like different. That's like a talking point. I remember seeing like a YouTube house tour of this New York couple that used to live in Paris, and they would go to this cafe all the time, is their favorite cafe, and that's where he proposed to her. And they have like the menu from that cafe framed in their kitchen. Like that kind of stuff is what tells a story. That kind of stuff is what takes your home and your style to the next level, instead of just going out and buying a bunch of cheap stuff that you're really not even attached to and says literally nothing about who you are. So I hope this video was helpful. I feel like these are all very accessible tips that you could totally start incorporating immediately. I want to know how many of you guys are farmhouse. And if you are, thank you for watching me, because that's definitely not my style. But I know that the things that I teach on this channel are universal of regardless of what your style is. But if you do happen to kind of prefer a farmhouse style, I'd love to know where you actually live and if you have incorporated any location specific elements into your design. And if not, what would you do? Okay. So thank you so much for watching, and I will definitely see you in the next one. Please make sure to subscribe, like, comment, all of that good stuff, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.